Hey everyone. So welcome to another installment of N2WS's latest version release overview and demo. So this is a live event, and we're very excited about it. The version 3.2 is our third major release this year, and we've really tried to keep our promise of having a regular release schedule, and it looks like we delivered, so one positive of 2020. And again, this is live, so we want to hear from you all, and we want it to be interactive. We encourage feedback, questions, complaints if you have them, and we'll address your questions live at the end, so please do ask away in that question box over there. And yeah, we want to get to know our attendees a bit, of course, because we're all quite isolated these days, so please go ahead and pop into the chat box, maybe where you're from. Are you at the office? What city you're in? Maybe you're working from the kitchen. We want to know. So just a quick introduction. I'm Jessica Eisenberg, Senior Global Campaigns Manager here at N2WS, and I am with our AWS and backup and security expert, Sebastian Straub. He is our Principal Solutions Architect. So Sebastian, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Always nice to do these webinars with you. And as you mentioned, everything is live. Anything can happen.
It is. Good for good and for bad. So let's see how it goes. Okay. Cool. So So just a good place to start, just before we dive into the new capabilities, and this is just for those who aren't familiar with N2WS, we are the leading backup and disaster recovery solution on AWS. You can find us on the AWS Marketplace. That's the only place that we're available. And we help thousands of global customers successfully manage and protect their data. Our core capability being an extremely simple way to do just that. Manage your resources, back them up, recover them, as well as lifecycle them. And so we have many videos on our site you can look at. Sebastian runs through how you can very easily achieve high availability. And that's what you want when you're migrating your mission-critical workloads to AWS. So you want to be available at all times, and N2WS provides that with the ability to have frequent backups. For example, we have customers backing up every 5 minutes because those backups are incremental. And we have flexible policies as well because you want that automation when your scheduling becomes a bit complicated. So you just want to set it and forget it and have a cup of coffee and move on with your day. So N2WS comes as a virtual appliance. It's already pre-configured. You launch it from the marketplace. You're not sharing your information with any third party. Just complete control over everything within your account. And of course, there's that RTO because all the backups in the world aren't going to help you if you can't recover quickly. So that's just the core. We have auditing, transparent reporting, tons more capabilities. Sebastian and I will get into it. And we've won multiple industry awards. We're a premier advanced technology partner in multiple categories as well. Okay, cool. So AWS adoption, it can be really complex, many moving parts. So many of you are not responsible, or not only responsible for your data protection, but also for your budget and your costs and making sure that your time is optimized. So that's what we want to do, and that's what we've succeeded in doing. We want to help you with that simplicity. So that comes in 3 stages. The first step for every enterprise is, of course, making sure your data is protected. So you want to set up your cross-account DR, cross-region DR. You want to have your automation running in the background. You want to have those regular alerts and summaries that are running smoothly. And then the second step is that's when you start to scale and you start to leverage more automation and implement those some of those cost optimization strategies. And then step 3 is is you want to have that ongoing plan, and you want to optimize and manage your storage and costs for the long run. So, we have many customers doing this. Sebastian, you work with customers very closely. What are you seeing in terms of this journey?
That's a good word to describe it. It's a journey. I mean, essentially what you're seeing here on this slide, it goes from left to right. That's your journey, your life cycle with the product. I mean, the very first thing usually is, I have a headache. I need to perform backups. Okay, well, that's all the way on the left side of this screen. But then once you feel better and you're like, okay, now I'm protected. Now I'm performing backups. So, well, how else can you help me? And then, as you can see, it slowly moves towards the right. And a couple of customers actually come to mind. One, Get, which is the largest competitor of Uber in Europe. And they deployed N2WS and immediately, like day one, started making use of the resource control feature. And they were very, very confident that they can save a lot of money by turning off instances when they're not needed, like development instances. And that was one of the customers that had a lot of success using resource control, which meant that they saved over $100,000 the first year they started using our product. Another one that kind of sort of goes also into scale and then also optimize archive into lower tiers that comes to mind is DB Systel. It's the technology arm of Deutsche Bahn, and they have quite, as you can imagine, they have quite a lot of resources that they need to be able to recover very quickly, and you don't want to do this manually, server by server and application set by application set. So they started, after performing backups and all of that, they started performing these archives and then recover them using the recovery scenarios. They were actually able to recover a large chunk of their entire digital footprint, which was 400 servers in less than 30 minutes. And the only reason why it took 30 minutes is because these machines needed to split up in certain order, because you know how it is, sometimes certain machines need to spin up before others. So that's what we usually see. I mean, this is a really good way of describing it. It's that journey that you're on. Once you perform your backups, you want to get all the way to the right side of that screen and really harvest all of the abilities that N2WS has.
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly not a one-time process. And for any of you out there, if you're wondering, maybe you don't know where you are in this process or in this journey. So we do recommend you can always contact us for usage check-in, and we can help you understand that and see what your next steps should be in that journey. Great. Okay, so just very quickly before we get into new capabilities, we just want to take a look back. We've had, as we said, we had a very regular release schedule. We want to help you accelerate your journey across those 3 stages, and we do that with these various updates and capabilities. So, for example, granular recovery, this is one of our most beloved capabilities, one of our oldest capabilities, and N2WS gives you that support for not only a full-fledged DR plan for your entire environment, but you can recover a folder or maybe just a few specific files. So you don't have to do that manual level recovery from the EBS volume snapshots. S3 replication, that's a very recent addition that we added. It's very cool, also customer requested, and it lets you replicate static data between 2 different S3 buckets. And we have that re-engineered user interface. If you aren't upgraded to see this new interface that we had early in the year, now is the time. It provides a whole new level of simplification for your data protection. So we have customers large and small, and as MSPs, for example, with many, many customers, and they're not going to go and build custom tools for each of their customers. They're going to make it simple, and they're going to choose N2WS and leverage a solution that's universal to make it easy for them. Sebastian, maybe you want to point out a few of these features?
I think, well, the resource control, we just talked about that's a super useful feature, especially when you start turning off things that you don't need, just like the light in the hallway at nighttime. Mm-hmm. And Cost Explorer, that's a super important one as well, because a lot of customers or prospective customers that we talk to, they almost dread that first of the month when they're going to get their AWS bill, because there's always that sticker shock when not knowing how much all of those backups are going to cost me at the end of the month. The Cost Explorer is going to keep nicely track of all of that, and you can keep up on. And well, the full cross-region, cross-account disaster recovery. There's still a lot of companies out there that really aren't making use of cross-region, cross-account. I had a call just this morning with a prospective customer who said, why would I want this? Why would I want to perform cross-account disaster recovery? And then when we mentioned, well, it can happen that you would lose access to an account, just as an example. I mean, it's not something that has never happened before. This isn't just theoretical. And then when you look into this, well, there might be hackers out there. Somebody might compromise my account. It's always good to have that backup vault to be able to fall back on.
Yeah, for sure. This is something that you don't hear about a lot, but it happens an alarming amount of time. So it is something we like to remind our customers. Great. Okay. And without further ado, let's get our hands dirty, Sebastian. Let's get into the meat and potatoes and dig into the 3.2 features.
Sounds good. Well, well, as you might remember, we introduced EFS, the Elastic File System, support in version 2.6, and I would say almost immediately we started getting customer requests to also support FSX, which stands for the Fast Storage File System. And Amazon FSX provides you with two file systems to choose from. So Amazon FSX for Windows File Server, that's for enterprise workloads, and then Amazon FSX for Lustre, for the high-performance workloads. And all of that is based on the Server Message Block Protocol, SMB. And FSX, it does make sense. It's quite attractive. It provides support for deduplication, integrates into your Active Directory, scales to your throughput needs. I mean, what's not to love about this? So it's so popular that N2WS now supports all three flavors of FSX, which means FSX with AWS Managed Active Directory, FSX with your self-managed Active Directory, and also Amazon FSX for Lustre.
Yes, and as Sebastian said, I just want to chime in that this was customer requested. This was a fairly new AWS service, and again, we do want to encourage you, if you have a need for to integrate and to have another AWS service supported, this is what we're here for. So we do want to hear from you. So please let us know.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, about 60% of our product, we've been around for quite a long time, since 2012, and about 60% of the features in our product, at one point or another, they were a customer request. So we're a very customer success-driven company. So as Jessica mentioned, if you have any requests for services, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to take that into consideration. All right, well, Data Lifecycle Management, so archiving into S3, that's something we added in version 2.4. And it worked with volumes as long as those were attached to an instance. And, well, what about my unattached volumes, right? Maybe I have a regulatory compliance need to keep certain volumes unattached unless needed. Well, with version 3.2, we can now not only back up unattached volumes, but we also have the ability to archive them for long-term archival into that true, real S3 bucket. And with version 3.2, we additionally added the ability to perform file and folder level recovery from long-term archived items in S3. Makes no difference if it's a complete instance or a specific independent unattached volume. And there is no need to restore the entire instance or the entire volume to get the contents inside of it. We're now utilizing the direct EBS API to rummage through that content.
I just want to add to that and Sebastian, you'll show this in the demo later, but what's very nice about this feature is that there's a new UI, and there's a new tab called File Level Recovery Sessions. So it makes it super easy to browse for that file and maybe to even look for previously searched files. So it's a very, very nice addition.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll show that in a moment as well. But yeah, definitely it keeps it nice and organized. Security. Well, you can't ever have enough security. So what happens during the next zombie apocalypse, or more likely during the next ransomware attack? Well, best practice has always been to have a dedicated disaster recovery DR account to ideally provide immutable backups. And that's my backup vault. That's where I keep my backups if things go really foobar. But how can I ensure the safety of that backup vault AWS account? That's where secured DR accounts come into play. You choose which permissions you find objectionable, and then we'll monitor for any users or roles having those permissions. And then, of course, we'll trigger alerts accordingly, so you'll actually find out about that.
And this is great also to add for compliance needs as well, right, Sebastian?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that you can prove that no rogue admin can sneakily add additional users, additional roles, or add, you know how it goes, sometimes adds permissions to existing users and roles. So you'll actually have the ability to report on that and then pass those security audits.
Right.
Now, this one, EBS Volume Usage Monitor. So this new feature allows you to keep close tabs on your volume usage, because all too often you might have volumes which are either over or under provisioned. Well, over provisioned, you're paying for services which you don't really need. Well, that's not an ideal situation. And under provisioned, well, that can get me into deep trouble when you're running out of storage at the least convenient time. And you know as well as I do, it'll always hit at the worst time possible. And with the EBS Volume Usage Monitor, I'm always in the know, and you can configure exactly at which point to bring that to your attention.
And Sebastian, just a question on this. Can users, if they want to, can they disable alerts on this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's completely customizable. If you want to know about it, if you don't want to know about it, just like the regular alerts, just like the regular reports, you're in complete control of that.
Right.
And, well, version 3.0 with the introduction of the new user interface, we also provided you with a quick, at-a-glance visual representation of your backup environment and status. And as we all know, executives don't want to pour over a dry Excel sheet. But at the same time, they don't want to log into a console to get that information. So now I can schedule the dashboard summary report to be sent in a nice PDF on a regular basis to those people who need to be in the know and who need to find out about it.
Yeah, and this one was a very big demand from customers. You know, they had a lot of questions from their C-level managers, and it's quite nice that they can present something that looks pretty much exactly like their dashboard, you know, to whoever they want and to whenever they want. And you can get that understanding of the costs involved and the backup admin, what the backup admin is doing on a daily basis.
That's right. Well, and also get that nice visual, which is
right.
a perfect lead-in to the next new thing, the nice visuals. So N2WS now provides integration into Datadog to provide nifty visuals of all of your important key performance indicators. And you can turn these into graphs, pie charts, gauges, you name it. All of that can be filtered and controlled as you see fit, as you really need it. So that's a huge improvement as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And well, no, wait, there's more. If you act now, you also
sorry, Sebastian, I just want to say one thing about the Datadog integration is that you know, if for those of you who aren't a Datadog customer, it's one of the most affordable monitoring platforms out there, and you can start at something like $15 a month. And be able to access that central monitoring. And we really do encourage you to try out because it's a very cool integration. It's our very first direct integration. You know, we have you know, other integrations you can indirectly and call APIs, but this one is really our first, and to be able to have that visualization and customize is very, very valuable. And also, this is just the beginning because we do have other integrations coming up. And again, as always, if you have an integration you want to see, please let us know. We have another one coming up, around Christmas time. So we're very excited about that as well.
Oh yeah, I completely second that. I mean, it's crazy easy. Once 3.2 was available internally, I tried it out, and that entire integration with Datadog, you can get that deployed in about 15 minutes or so. It's crazy easy, and like you said, really, really affordable.
Yeah.
All right, and then, well, last but not least, bonus mini feature. So you want to be able to understand your N2WS license that you have. And a lot of the things that we just talked about is at a glance. So in the About box, you can now find a visual representation of your particular N2WS license, which provides valuable information. So you can plan accordingly. If you're planning to increase or decrease your workloads, then here you can have a visual representation of your license as well.
Cool.
All right, well, you know already what's going to happen. N2WS v3.2 demo. That's my favorite part of the entire presentation. So let me go ahead and share my screen. This is it. All right.
And again, please, we do encourage, while Sebastian sets that up, we have a whole bunch of questions coming in, which is awesome. We do encourage you, if you have anything at all, please let us know. If we don't get to it at the end, we will definitely get back to you via email. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Sure. So as you can see here on the screen, nothing has changed. So N2WS Backup and Recovery is still available. Just simply pick it up in the AWS Marketplace. We have some really nice install videos. So if you're not an existing customer and you're seeing this for the very first time, this is how you can get a hold of it, just simply in the Marketplace. Takes about, I'd say, 20 minutes to install. All right, so first look. This is what the console looks like. So this is version 3.2. Let's take it in reverse. So the first thing, or the last thing we talked about was that mini feature. So let me show you how that works. Over here on the right side of the screen, I have my question mark. And here I can go into the About box, and then you can see the license that you have. Plus, you can also see the details of that license as well. And as you can see in my case, that's because I'm employed here, so that's a slightly different looking license, but that's exactly how your license is going to be visible within the product now. Another thing that you probably noticed right away on the dashboard is this new box right here. It's that volume usage percentage. So that's that EBS usage that we have. What's over-provisioned, what's under-provisioned. And within the product, so over here within the settings, you get to choose, well, okay, what do I consider high usage and what do I consider low usage? And then once I configure that, we're going to take a look at the backups that we're performing for you, and then we're going to give you a visual representation of that. So that means I have 9 volumes, and some of them are under-provisioned, and some are kind of sort of in the middle, and some of them are a little under-provisioned, or over-provisioned in this case. Now, this is just a quick overview, but you can also see it over here under volume usage. That's on the left side of the screen, and here I can see my high usage volumes, and on the right side of the screen, I can see my low usage volumes. But if you change your mind, you don't actually have to go into the configuration. You say, well, you know what? Now I'm seeing everything that's below 20%, but how about if I'm going to increase that and show me everything that's at 45%? So I can do that, and then it's going to show me that as well. I probably want to take a look at these right away because we really get into the maximum of what I can store on those volumes. So that makes it really easy for you to keep track of what you actually have and which ones might be a problem in the making. So without you having to do anything else, it's just simply part of your backup routine. And N2WS will then give you a visualization of that as well. The next new feature is the FSX, right? And really nothing much changes. So you still have your volumes, and I already have a policy right here. So if I select this, click on Edit, and under Backup Targets, that's where you're going to find it, just like before. Add backup targets. Those are the different services, instances. Of course, that also includes the volumes automatically. If you want to do that to yourself and just back up the volumes by themselves, RDS, Aurora, Redshift, DynamoDB, Elastic File System, then the new one, FSX, and then also the S3 bucket sync. Just simply select the file system that you want to back up, and it's going to show up right here. And you also have the option to choose the lifecycle management. That's the tab here to the right. This is where you can choose, well, how many backups, how many generations of backups of your FSX do you want to keep? Well, in my case, I'm just keeping it down to 4. And then when you perform these backups on a regular basis, then you can access them in your single pane of glass, which is the backup monitor. Well, if you select this, and then I can filter this by my different policies, or, well, this is the one that I performed a little bit earlier. So I can choose that one, click on Recover. And that's the nice thing about the backup monitor. It's just a single pane of glass. It makes no difference where you're performing backups, in which account, in which region. I'm just going to see everything. And then over here, that's the FSX, the file system that I was backing up. Select that. And then click on the Recover button. And then it's going to auto-populate all of the items, such as the target VPC, the security groups, the subnet, and also the Active Directory, which in my case is behind all of this. So this is the one that's AWS managed, but of course you can also select your self-managed Active Directory as well, and then it would just simply ask for your credentials so that we can authenticate to that. So that's how you would select everything. You can make changes here. So if you want to change this into a different subnet, into a different security group, into a different VPC, that's an option. And then just simply hit that Recover FSX file system button. So it makes it really simple to manage the backups, and also when something terrible does happen, to quickly return that to a state that it should be in. You can also see the file system type. In my case, that's Windows, but of course, as we already discussed earlier, Lustre is supported as well. So the next improvement is the ability to perform volume backups and also archive them into S3. And the way this works is, I already created a policy right here. So everything works the same way here as well. You have your schedules, you have your backup targets, and there's 2 different ways to populate this policy. Either manually, you click on the Add Backup Targets and then select the volumes or the resources that you want to back up, and you can also mix and match. But the other option, the fully automated option, is that you use tagging. So if you already have tags that might include department or the owner, and then you can use those tags to sort the resources into the appropriate policies. So I have a volume here. In my case, it's just one single volume because this is just show and tell. And then under Lifecycle Management, you can see that I decided that I'm going to keep 3 generations of snapshots of this volume. And then also I have the option to archive this. Even though it's a single unattached volume, you can now select to archive this for however long you want to retain it. And then once we have that available within S3 in a true real S3 bucket, there's huge cost differences, right? All the way at the bottom of the screen, you can choose which storage class that we're going to use. Standard S3, that's literally half the cost of regular snapshots. And then if you want to retain the data for an even longer amount of time, go ahead, use infrequent access. Just keep in mind there is a time commitment. So you need to retain the data for at least 30 days. And if you do choose infrequent access, that comes with an additional discount. So that would then would give you a 75% cost savings compared to regular snapshots. And intelligent tiering actually utilizes infrequent access, but it's a lot less rigid as far as the access is concerned. So that's an option here as well. Now, it makes no difference if you're dealing with regular volumes now or with the instances. you can perform a complete recovery as before of an entire volume. You can perform a complete recovery of the entire instance. And the way this works is if you choose one, see in this case I decided not to even keep snapshots at all, because that is a feature that we also introduced previously, which is called the zero EBS snapshot feature. It means we're not going to keep any snapshots. Everything is going to get stored in S3. And this feature works just like the archiving of the volumes. You click on Recover, and then choose the resource that you would like to perform a file and folder level recovery. So it doesn't have to be a complete recovery of the entire resource. You can choose to recover certain volumes, or even though we're utilizing the native snapshots, you're never going to give up that granularity to be able to recover certain files and folders. Because you know how it goes. More often than not, somebody's going to say, can you get me that really important Excel sheet or that really important PowerPoint? Or, oh, I accidentally overwrote a configuration file. I'm sure we all heard this before. So when you select Explore, what's going to happen now is it's going to trigger a file and folder level recovery, and we're going to start rummaging through the snapshot directly. So there's no recovering, rehydrating of that data itself. And another improvement with the file and folder level recovery is this right here, the file level recovery sessions. So if I select this, you can see that I actually have several open. So I have one open right here for my instance, and I have another one open for a particular volume. So there is no attached instance. This is just an independent volume. And if you want to drill into one of these open file and folder level recoveries, all you have to do is just select it and click on Explore. What's going to happen is that's then going to pop up, and it's going to open up that that resource, and you can start browsing through it as if it's just local information. So that makes it very simple to recover what you actually need. And of course, the same thing also works now with your independent volumes. You're going to see this in the file level recovery sessions, and you can browse through that data and just retrieve what you actually need. So that's really super important and makes it very simple. So you don't have to browse through the entire content, recover the entire content. And even if that content has already been archived into S3, you're going to be able to get that information now. Another feature that we talked about, that was the security feature, right? You can't ever have too much security. So let's talk about the secured DR account. So you're going to find this under Accounts, and as before, you have the option to define DR accounts. So let me just show you this real quick. The backup type is DR, and an additional feature is the secured DR account. It's just simply a tick box, which means if you already have N2WS in your environment and you're already making use of DR accounts, you can essentially retrofit that new feature to any of your DR accounts just by simply tick boxing this. The way this works is also pretty simple. You select that account, and as you can see, this one is already a secure DR account. And the moment you tick box this is going to show up. What permissions do you find objectionable? So when you click on this, and for show and tell, I decided, you know, when I have an immutable DR account, I want to make sure that nobody can delete snapshots. So that is what I've selected because I find that an objectionable permission. But of course, you can also do the same thing for your RDS, your Redshift, your DynamoDB, and then report on that. What's going to happen once you define these prohibited permissions? It's not only going to monitor this particular role, in my case, it's going to monitor the entire account. And it's going to monitor it based on the objectionable permissions that I'm defining here. So it's a service that's running in the background in regular intervals. You can set these over here with the secure DR check settings. And then when we find a user or a role that has access to permissions they shouldn't have, you're going to receive an alert on that. This is what I was talking about earlier. So even if you have a rogue admin, and that rogue admin might try to sneak in permissions on an existing role, on an existing account, That's not going to work because you'll find out about it right away. All right. The other thing is the dashboard summary. You're going to find this under reports, under immediate report generation. And of course, you can also schedule this. And in the drop-down, just go one further down and you're going to find it right here under the summary report. So what this is going to do is going to generate a report. You can send this out on any of the schedules if you want to create a scheduled report. But just for show and tell, let's create one right now. So there we have it. And I'm going to open that with my Adobe Reader. And there it is. So this is what I can now schedule and send to my executives or anybody who needs to find out about what's actually going on with our backup. So if I want to schedule this on a daily basis, I'm going to have a nice PDF that's going to let me know, yep, you don't have to worry about anything. Everything is green as it should be. And of course, your volume usage monitor is active here in this report as well. And then last but not least, we're just talking about nice, pretty visuals. What if I want to have even more information than this? Well, you can. So previously, of course, we had the RESTful API, so you could use our RESTful API to feed information that N2WS Backup and Recovery produces into any log consolidation tool. But what's even better than that? Well, if it's fully automated, it's an integration that's meant to happen. So that's what the Datadog integration will allow you to do. So if you use the Datadog integration, then this is what your information is going to look like. So that's the Datadog web page. And I already have some pre-made reporting. So I can see my success rate. I can see more detailed information here on each and every day. You can get information about certain users. So this is especially interesting if you're a managed service provider and you have control over different accounts, different users. If you want to make this visually different, you can do that as well. So I have a different dashboard here as well, and that's going to give me that same information, just sorted differently. If you want to find out everything that's possible, you can do that as well. You'll find this over here on the left side of the screen under metrics. Go to Explorer. And all of the metrics that Cloud Protection Manager can provide you with, simply type in CPM, and it's going to give you a quick rundown on all of the different metrics that you can feed into Datadog and then create a visual representation of that. So there's really almost an overload of information that you can now very, very, very easily extract. And when I set this up, the Datadog integration took about 15 minutes. So it's already pre-made, and you'll find the integrator in the Datadog marketplace as well. So that's a quick high-level overview. If you're interested to see all the other buttons, all the other features that we have, I think Jessica is going to have some information for you as well. You can very easily schedule some quick health checks, some demos with us, but I'm going to give this back to you, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sebastian. That's seriously, the Datadog, the integration is so cool to see, and again, like, it's so great. It's customizable. Employees who don't have credentials to N2WS can see that, and everything. I mean, it's just really cool to see. I mean, I know the product, and Sebastian, I know he's a wizard and he makes things look easy, but things are actually very, very easy. It's not just Sebastian. So. Okay, great. So I will go back to the slides here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is. I just wanted to point out, you know, N2WS is used by builders around the world, and what all these brands have in common, whether they be space programs or airlines or higher learning, is that they all have production workloads running on AWS, and they need to make sure that they ensure their availability. So they all picked N2WS from the marketplace to accomplish that goal. And As Sebastian said, we have next steps. I do want to point out we have a blog published as well that has all the information about 3.2, all the features, all the next steps you have that you can do, as well as the upgrade notes and the release notes. But just very quickly, new users can spin up our trial, and you can do that by installing the AMI. Sebastian has a very easy how-to video. You can just watch that. It takes about 13 minutes. Existing customers, for those of you who are already using N2WS, you can upgrade today with the AMI that's on the marketplace. And depending on what edition you are, you might want to switch to a different version to get access to certain features. So in that case, I would recommend you can email me directly. My email is on the next slide. Or you can, if you know who your account manager is, you can always reach out to them. Okay. And just very quickly before we get to Q&A, we have a lot of questions, Sebastian, so I hope we get to all of them. The very exciting event coming up, of course, is reInvent. It's a bit different this year. It is a 3-week virtual conference. It's absolutely free to join, so your whole team can join, invite everyone. And as an AWS attendee, we have a very cool giveaway. All you have to do is enter your name in the link that's shown there. It's free to enter. And every Friday on Twitter, we'll be announcing a winner. So, and the winners get, it's over $400. We call it the ultimate attendance pack. And you can watch reInvent in style with your ergonomic work at home package. So it includes a laptop stand, earbuds, and my personal favorite is Bluebucker glasses, which I'm dying to buy to block out those blue rays to get some good shut-eye. You know how it is. I also want to give a shout-out to our attendees that told us where they are. We have someone from Austin working in his spare bedroom. We have someone from Chicago. So thank you. Thank you for letting us know. I love both of those cities. Great food towns. Okay, so cool. Let's get to the Q&A. I digress. Okay, Sebastian, so let's talk. We have a couple questions about FSX. So for FSX data protection, what processes are workers required to be spun up for? Files, cataloging, granular recoveries, etc. That's a good question. Go ahead.
That is a good question, and I figured we'd get some questions about FSX. So the worker instances aren't required for FSX at all. The worker instances are only required for 2 items. One, file and folder level recovery from volumes and from instances with the attached volumes, and the other is for archiving purposes. So as far as FSX is concerned, there are absolutely no workers required whatsoever. The only thing they're used for is for the file and folder level recovery and also for the archiving.
Okay, great. What destinations can granular recovered data be restored to? What options are there?
That's a good question as well. So when you go into the file and folder level recovery, you have the ability to recover the content to the workstation that you're currently on. So it doesn't intrude on the resources, because that's really all there is to it, because N2WS is compliant with all of the different security ratings of the cloud, because the data never really flows through our product. So that means that we inherit all of the security settings. So we don't deploy agents on the different machines in order to insert or inject data back into them. So you're recovering onto the workstation that you're currently on, and then you use a delivery mechanism to get the data either back onto those resources or directly to a user. Generally, a user would probably say, oh, I need that PowerPoint, and then you're going to use a delivery mechanism to get it to them, deploy it directly to their OneDrive, send it to them, encrypt it as an email. Little trick that I always like to point out to customers is N2WS is a web portal. right? So if you're dealing with a file server, especially if it's a Windows file server, I bet you there is going to be a web browser on that file server. So there's nothing to keep you from accessing the N2WS portal from that file server and then recover the data straight back onto the file server where the data belongs. So there's different options for that.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a question on the volume usage monitoring capability. So this person is asking, is volume usage monitoring just space, or is it input-output as well?
Oh, I like where this is going. This is an interesting one. So yeah, this is really just space usage. So that's just like you said, it's the volume usage. The way this works is we're not actually constantly 24/7, every second of every day monitoring those volumes. We are monitoring the volumes when we perform a backup. So this has nothing to do with I/O. This is really just for space usage, to find those volumes that are over-provisioned or under-provisioned. But it doesn't deploy anything on those machines to monitor what the I/O is on those volumes. That's a good question, though.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of great questions. This one is, this next one's about copying to S3. Is there any improvement on cost savings figures when copying to S3 instead of staying with those EBS snapshots?
Yes, there's some tremendous savings to be had. So if we're talking about archiving of complete instances with all of the volumes, the snapshots, you can't really improve on the snapshots. They're incredibly lightning fast. If you need to recover something, I mean, we have RTO of 30 seconds. But the snapshots come with the drawback, well, they're kind of expensive. And not all data needs to be available within seconds, right? I mean, nobody's going to cry if I tell them, hey, the recovery of your server from 2018 is going to take 10 minutes instead of 30 seconds. So it does make sense to archive data that's not immediately needed to a much cheaper storage tier. In S3, there's so many different tiers. We just, with this short demo, we just scratched the surface. I mean, you have standard S3, that's a 50% savings. The infrequent access, that's a 75% savings. But it really doesn't stop there. I mean, you can bury it even deeper in cold storage, like a Glacier. That's a 93% savings. And ultimately, if you want to keep it for several years, and you mentioned like higher learning, we have some customers who are retaining data indefinitely. Doesn't matter when you graduated, they need to be able to produce your records. So they have the need to retain the data for many, 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 many years. And if you use Deep Archive Glacier, that's dirt cheap. That's a terabyte of data for 99 cents a month. And you might as well keep it forever. That's a 98% savings. So effectively, you're just paying 2% of your normally what you would pay for the snapshot. So absolutely, there's a huge savings to be had by moving the data into S3.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that, we will have actually a cost calculator published on our site quite soon, hopefully within the next few weeks or so. And this is going to make it really easy to see what your ROI is. You know, when you're comparing storage with EBS as opposed to S3, and this is something that we're very excited about, and it's information that's not available now for the average AWS user. So it's well, I'm sure we'll have some sort of webinar about it as well that we'll talk about. So please look out for that. Great. So we have another question about volume usage. How does the volume usage percent work for multiple accounts? And will we see multiple dashboards, or can we filter per account?
That's an interesting one as well. In the Datadog integration, you do have that as an option. Remember when I showed you can click on metrics, the metrics explorer, and then you can pick that particular metric. So you could say, oh, I want to see all of the under-provisioned volumes, and then you can filter it by certain users, by certain accounts. So that's definitely an option as well. So it's extremely customizable, however you want to display it and visualize it.
Great. Okay, another S3 question. So how do you ensure the copied S3 is a perfect replica of the EBS snapshot? Is this via an N2WS replicate function or a native AWS copy call? You guys are really, I think they're trying to stump you, Sebastian.
It's a good one. I love this. I mean, we have a lot of smart people on this call.
We do.
So the way this works is N2WS, as I mentioned, is a cloud-native solution, which means everything we're actually doing using native AWS API calls. So the way we get there's no straight shot from snapshots into S3. That's correct. So within the native tool, that's not a possibility, unless, of course, we're talking EFS. But we're talking about EBS snapshots. So, but there are direct EBS API calls which allow you to query, okay, so what's inside a snapshot, which blocks have changed, and then query for those blocks and request them from AWS. So that's how the magic behind the curtain works. We use native AWS API calls to create that archive in S3.
Great. Another good one. Can scripts be run to stop services on Windows before a backup is triggered and start the service again after the backup? We have an in-memory database that can't be backed up until the service is stopped.
Yeah, that's application consistent backups. And well, snapshots. As we talked about, snapshots are super fast. Only drawback is, well, two drawbacks. They're expensive. We talked about that already. And the other is, well, they're crash consistent backups, which I guess is okay for most backups, but not really desirable for database backups. And especially with this particular customer, if they have an in-memory database, well, that means I'm never going to get this because it hasn't been committed to the volume. So how am I going to get that information backed up? So it really makes no difference if we're talking about Windows or if we're talking about Linux, because we do have the ability to create application-consistent backups. For Windows, we usually use a thin backup agent that's already built into N2WS for those particular scenarios where you need to have that application-consistent backup. But you can use also scripts that N2WS can trigger during a backup process, and these scripts can do literally anything. That would be one of those scenarios where you would use them. It's simply just a tick box within N2WS, which is, hey, I want to use a backup script. Run this script before the backup runs, then perform the backup, and then we have the ability to trigger scripts after the backup has been done.
Excellent. Okay, we have a question on the Datadog integration. Can a single Datadog or N2WS integration work with more than one Datadog account?
It's a good question. I don't think that's possible because the authentication between the N2WS instance and Datadog is done through an API key. And I don't think that the Datadog agent has the ability to perform multiple authentications to multiple accounts because obviously the API key would change. So no, that wouldn't work.
And again, that's something that we can definitely look into and solve that issue if that is necessary for our users. So please do get in touch with us about that. Okay. Okay. This is a good one. That's actually a lot of people do ask this. Who has access to the N2WS console, Sebastian?
Oh yeah, we all I showed you was the root admin. Well, I have access to everything, which is great for me. But what if I want to give other users access to resources? Let's say I have a database admin who's going to perform some work on the weekend, and then something terrible does happen on Saturday morning at 3 a.m. because that's when developers like to work. Do I want him to wake me up and tell me that I need to perform a recovery from him? Not at all. So within N2WS, you have the ability to define who else gets to use this console and what exactly do they get to see and what exactly do they get to do. And you can do this in an extremely granular fashion. You can perform, you can put up virtual fences around resources. So if they log in, they're only allowed to perform certain functions on certain resources. If I have a compliance auditor who needs to log in and run compliance reports, I can give him access to this console, and the only thing he'd be able to do is run reports. So you can get as granular as you'd like to. And as a matter of fact, once a user logs in, you can, as I said, put up virtual fences around them and around the resources. They wouldn't even be aware who else is using that console unless you give them access.
Okay, great. Okay, we only have time for just a few more. See here. This one is also a very common question. It's a good one to address. Aren't all snapshots stored in S3?
Oh wow, this is going to be a longer answer because AWS kind of sort of confuses people with this. So if you look at promotional material, AWS says, yeah, snapshots are stored in S3. And technically, that's 100% correct. Snapshots are stored in S3. But you probably already noticed when you're in your AWS console, when you click on snapshots, there is no S3 bucket. When you click on S3, you're never going to see those snapshots. And that's because Jeff Bezos likes charging you more for it. So technically, yes, the snapshots are stored in S3, but they're not stored in real, true S3 buckets, which also means they're going to be charged as twice the price of S3. So currently, North Virginia, 1 gigabyte of data is 5 cents. And if you put that same amount of data into a true, real, visible S3 bucket, then it's half the cost. So technically, yes, that's correct. The data is in S3, but not in those true, real S3 buckets that we all think about when we actually think about S3. So that's where the archiving comes into place. Truly move the data into a visible S3 bucket and then reap the rewards of not having to pay so much for those archives.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a question. Okay, this is a good one. Did you add the chance to have both DR and delete instance snapshots from EBS after storing an S3 option in Lifecycle Management? Apparently, this was not possible in 3.1.
So you can't delete them separately from each other. So if you delete a policy, then you're not going to have any remnants sticking around in the snapshots or in the S3. So you do have the ability to, if you want to delete a policy, to get rid of everything, but you wouldn't be able to define, oh, I just want to get rid of the S3 content. I mean, nothing to keep you from going into the S3 bucket, because I mentioned it's a visible S3 bucket. You can go into S3 and you can see the content right there. So you could, but that's not a supported feature.
Okay, and we will add just we're at the top of the hour right now, but we just have an easy one for you, which we did address earlier, but just so our customers are aware of how to upgrade. So, Sebastian, how is the upgrade done? Is there a patch? I know we've had patches in the past, or is there a reinstall from N2WS from the marketplace?
So if you do a complete new install, obviously, then you're going to get an AMI from the marketplace. But if you already have N2WS Backup and Recovery installed, under the cog symbol right side of the screen where you see all of your settings, that's where you're also going to find the option to do a patch upgrade. Currently, the patch is not available yet, so only new installs in the marketplace will receive the new AMI. But by the end of this week, probably Monday, we're also going to have the patch available on our website. And it couldn't be easier. It's a single file. It's as if you're upgrading your home router, which we're all probably doing now that we're all working from home. But yeah, it's a single file. Click on Choose Files, browse to that patch file, click upload and install. That entire process takes about 5 minutes. So there's no need to redeploy and go through that entire process.
Okay, so that's going to be it. We have to wrap up, but we really want to thank everyone. Your questions were amazing. Everyone, we're really happy that you were able to join us for this hour. It's just always really fun. Sebastian and I love showing these new capabilities that customers have asked for, and just for a reminder for those who are not yet a customer. How N2WS works is we are a monthly subscription, so you can cancel at any time. You can try it out, see if you like it, see if it works, spin up that free trial. And because we're cancel any time and monthly, it means that as a company we do have to step up and make sure that we're always evolving for our users and satisfying the needs of our customers. So we're here for you, and we're here with any questions. This is our contact, my email, personal email. And last reminder to enter our giveaway, get the cool prize, check into our Twitter, and that's all. Sebastian, do you want to shout out and say goodbye?
Absolutely. Always a pleasure doing these webinars with you, and I'm really happy that we always do these release webinars so that our existing customers and also new prospective customers see everything that we can do. So yeah, I'm completely with you on this. Go out, install a trial if you haven't done so, because you're missing out on a lot of functionality that you can easily deploy here.
For sure. Okay, have a great day, everyone. See you soon. See you at reInvent.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.